but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before I knew. Rewind, take it out of cue. Innocence can be a young man's game. Signed up for the hall of shame. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed when we play our roles and ignore the problems. I like to be away in my patience. Stay up, I feel so outdated. How can we look the other way? Sun is out, but the sky is gray. What would happen if I took a chance? It's always hard at first glance. I don't wanna, but I know I gotta do it. The truth is hard to swallow. I think I'll chew it. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed when we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed when we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on? What's going on? I thought I paused the music. What's going on? Though? What's going on? You know, I know the South. People are preparing themselves to finish their school year. They're they're uh they're finishing up their semesters and things like that. Colleges are graduating. Spelman is graduating today. Uh, or they're graduating today. Schools in the South are just getting ready. They're setting themselves up to have start their summer. So it led me to sit here and say, okay, what are they like? What's the education? What's the educational system doing? What are they really trying to prepare everybody for, right? So, I just decided to, do my own little research and stuff like that. So, y'all know me. I go ahead and put it on display. So that's what I do. I'm gonna put it on display, the the meaning of certain words. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, right? So, when you look up to educate, right, or things of that nature, it tells you to give intellectual, moral, and social instruction to someone, especially a child. I don't know, as y'all see, it's in the caption, right? Typically, typically, typically at a school or university, right? So then I went on and went and looked up some more things. So now I'm at Medium Webster, the Medium Webster Diction or Cambridge Dictionary, excuse me, Cambridge. Uh, and it says to teach someone, especially using the formal system of school, college, or university. So, I wanted to go on down, look at some more stuff. To teach someone as a verb is the same answer. Uh, and that's how they feel the meaning is. So basically, what they're telling you is things of schools of that nature. Like you can only be taught in that system. This is the Merriam-Webster, to provide schooling for, to train by formal instruction and supervised practice, especially in a skilled tradition. Excuse me, in a trade or profession, to develop mentally, morally, Asiatically, especially by instruction, to provide with information. We That's the one we're going to focus on. But I'm just giving y'all what they say the word is: just to persuade or condition to feel, believe, or act in a desired way. We could look at that one too, right? Because we see going forward what as they do on an everyday basis. So now the etymology of this word is, which means to bring up or to rear. It is derived from the past part, part, participle educatus, which relates to the act of training or nurturing. The term is also connected to educere, which means to lead out or to draw out, combining with the prefix ex, out, with ducere, to lead, the earliest known uses in the 15th century, right? So we go through all of those things. We understand all of that. Uh, I put the I'll put this one back up here just to continue to talk. Um, well, for those of you coming in, we were talking about the word educate, right? So, many of us have gone to school, many of us has finished school, or many of us have gotten to the high school level. Some of us went to college, obviously, got bachelors and masters and things like that. But I'm here to tell y'all that's not the only way that you can be educated, right? I hard knock, and you know, I going to be life itself, right? Because there's certain things that books cannot teach you, books cannot prepare you for. You can only experience a life lesson, a lesson through life. Um, when you're a child, you learn from you learn from. I understand all of that, but for the most part, they're teaching you how to do certain things to go forward, right? They want you to get your balance so you can stand up. They want you to get your balance steady in front of you, never behind you, but always in front of you, right? And those are things that has nothing to do with the schooling system. So they are the first ones to teach you the things that you need to do going forward in your life. um and then of course as you get older, now that they are pretty much trying to mandate people to go to the school building for the education that they want to give you, right? And for most of us, and I think a lot of us can agree, a lot of it is not about uh the learning of future endeavors, because if we really sit back and think about it, they took away the things that we are normally supposed to learn, right? They take away things like home economics, trades like HVACing and for more of geology, social studies, history, uh, science, mathematics. A lot of the mathematics you're not going to use. You're not going to be that physicist that's going to use E equals MC squared. You're not going to be that person that's going to say A squared plus B squared equals C squared, or A squared times B squared equals. You're not. They're not. It's like they're rearing you. We just read read the word rear in the etymology, and keep us in the rear, to be behind, not to raise us or nurture. They're nurture life lessons that we're gonna have to go through that was never taught in a book, right? You're not reading in a book how individual states of mind of a thing. So it's going to be a little difficult to go through those type of situations. So, you know, like I said, the way we have to go through this thing is because we are going to be teaching our children, whether we like it or not, right? And I think the best way we can improve our communities is by educating people in the individual state, right? Not putting them in 25, 30 class, 30 room class and teaching them, you know, their ABCs and all that. That's the first thing that we're supposed to teach our children anyway, the alphabets and the counting, right? Then we can go ahead and do things like this. Is why people want to homeschool, because they feel like they can control the learning of their child in a better aspect. But even as we go forward, there's things in a that's never going to be in a book. There's things that's never going to you're not going to see it in a hardcover or a soft cover book, right? There's so many people going through raising a child through ADHD. There's so many people trying to get their child or themselves out of depression. And no matter how much they look at a self-help book, you self-help yourself. Commander, what up, Nine? You self-help yourself, right? You got to get the help yourself. And a lot of the time it's not going to be in a book because they don't know how to prepare. They've never prepared for that because that's not what you do. You go through life experiences and you learn from the everyday situations. You learn how to become. I mean, you got examples, of course, but those are not in a book, right? If somebody writes a book and they tell you their experience, that's their experience. But for you to be educated through a situation, you have to go through a thing, right? We was just talking about knowing, right, and how knowing's half the battle, right? So if you know ahead of time, you should be prepared. But when you don't know, you're learning on the fly. Correct. That's right, Commander. Each kid is different. And when you're learning on the fly, you have to pick up the lessons as you go along, right? It's not like you're teaching your child how to tie your shoe, and that's the only thing you're going to teach them, or anything like that. So you have to be mindful, and you're learning at the same time. You're learning as well as teaching. You know, when people go to church, they say, the pastor's supposed to be preaching to you, but he's preaching to themselves. That's how it is in everyday life. When you're teaching a child, you're learning something for yourself because you're learning from that child's behavior if it's receiving it or not. You're learning from their reactions if they understand anything that you're saying to them. Is it registering? Is there a connection? So on and so forth, right? So education, the way they have it groomed, right? They're setting us up for failure, right? They telling they don't even teach you how to be, to be a mindful person. They just teaching you, the basic stuff. 1 + 1 is 2, and all of that. And if you plant a seed, that's science, the biology, and the physics and all of that other stuff. They teaching you that stuff, but they cannot prepare you for what's ahead in your life. Why? Because free thinking people always drift off. They go to the left or go to the right, and in those decisions and in those actions, there's things that you're going to learn that nobody can explain because they have not gone through it. Experience is the greatest teacher that you're going to go through in life, right? Well, let's ask some women, right? They tell you, when you having a child, you got to hold on, and it's going to be take this long, that long. Some people got longer, some people get shorter contraction times, right? It all depends on the individual. So you think it, all right, well, everybody's going to have a whole 48-hour contraction state of time or whatever, however you perceive it. I'm not thinking right now, so y'all bear with me. But the point is, everybody's not going to have that same type of time. Everybody's not going to, oh my God, I've been feeling this pain for 48. That's not how it goes. Then you got to learn how to breathe and get yourself through labor. Correct. Thank you, Commander. Right. The labor times is never always going to be the same. Right. Like one child could be a 10-hour labor session. Another child could be a 10-minute labor session, depending on who the individual is. All you're supposed to learn is how to breathe and get the child out, because even when there's complications, we got to stop. There's a breach. The head is not coming out the way. It's so many different things going on. You go through the education, through the experiences that you put yourself in, right? In order for you to be a good person, you have to understand what is good, what is bad. And how do you do that? You build up your morality. Nobody teaches you how to build up your morality. I've never seen a book that tells you how to build up your morality, if it's for the right or wrong reasons. I've never seen that. So these are the things that we have to understand. You're going to learn more in everyday life than those 12 or 16 years that you put yourself through school. Now, if you're going to get a master's in a thing, you're learning a certain part of a thing, right? If you're going to be a teacher, you're going to school for childhood development or something of that nature, right? If you're going to be a doctor, you're going to school for doctoring, nursing, RN, same thing. You're going for that. You're giving your time to that. But there's other things in life besides what you're learning, right? Because some way so they tell you have to go to school for sociology, and I'm like, how? All you doing is looking and studying people. If you study people, if you have an understanding of people, you do not need a degree to say that you know how that person is going to act. You know how this community is, because you see that they're taking funds away from the after school programs, this, that, and the third. You do not need no book. You don't need no system to tell you what's going to happen. Why? Because you're there. You're in time. You're going through those situations right then, right there, and right now. So when you go through those things, there's not a book that's going to teach you none of that, right? Because life is lifing, right? And everybody knows life is lifing, because we all have situations that we're going through, even at this very moment, right? The reason why I started late is because somebody called me and wanted to get something off their chest, because they're going through a situation, right? And not to say that I'm a life coach like my 33 brother, or I'm a therapist or a psychologist or anything like that. Sometimes, your gift of just being easy to talk to, you can't learn that. You can't get that out of a book, right? People say, oh, you're so easy to talk to. All right, well, lay your problem on me. All right, so you got that off your chest. What you think your next move is? Okay, take your time. If you need me, I'm a phone call away. That's not in the book. That's just a gift that's been given to you. This is, as repetitive as I am, this is why I tell you, you're a storehouse for a reason. You have many, many gifts that's been given to you since your day of birth, and none of that is in a damn book. You might learn how to enhance it through a book, but the gift itself was given to you. You have to activate it yourself through situations and real life experiences. Like if I call somebody and I'm like, you know what, a therapist need a therapist. So if I need somebody to talk to, I reach out to my peoples, and they're available. So why? Because I need somebody to bounce that off to. My I've been overcompensating this person for way too long. I need to figure this out, that out. That's not in a book. This the point is, the education to educate yourself is not just in the book. It's in everyday life and everyday activities. We all have to understand, why is it important to be around people that wants to elevate themselves, develop themselves into a better person. And this is why I said, in order for a community to thrive, to improve itself, you have to educate people individually, because each person is going to be good at something. So you have to help them to activate themselves to whatever level or gift that they have. Some people have the gift to build, so you have to help them activate that gift of craftsmanship. Some people is just great talkers, so you have to allow that person to activate the gift of communicating, and so on and so forth. But all that's a life experience. Sometimes, like I said, if commander's on a panel, she'll just sit there and listen and ask you a question and make you evaluate what you just said, so you become a better person. That is an education state. You know what I'm saying? So when you go through those type of things, and when you go through situations like that, you truly understand that the education system is not just your end all be all, right? But it's a learning stage that goes on in life, right? In order to be a good friend, you have to study the person that's next to you, or that person that you consider your friend. Well, damn, friend, you drink a lot of coffee, you don't think that's going to keep you up at night? Nah, that's cool. Okay, now, and you go on, you study them and you pay attention. All right, you might be addicted to this caffeine because you're drinking this at 12 o'clock at night and you need to go to bed. Things like that. The system of educating yourself is more valuable than what these people are telling you or putting on your table. It's more to it than just going to a building. Just like the church. The church is a building, but your spirit is going to grow regardless, because there's an uplifting, there's an elevation that happens not in a building, but in your everyday life. So too as it is with educating yourself, right? So you want to be around people. If you want to learn how to sew and stuff like that, this is the beauty of this app, right? Because this is why you have people like Unbiased, that's going to teach you how to. She's going to show you her skills of sewing and threading and things like that. And when you want to learn something about art, you got people like 755. That's they take their time. They're going to show you. And if you think this is enough for your children, she's gonna do something for the kids as well. You have people that's willing to share their gifts to enhance you to become a better person, right? It's not that anybody feels like they're better than somebody. It's not that, it's just something that's on their heart to put on display, that I am willing to help somebody, that's willing to lend to give what I know to somebody else. This is why knowledge and wisdom, which was last week's conversation, is more imperative, right? Because it doesn't matter how much you know if you keep it to yourself. What good is it if you're the only one that knows what you're talking about? Right? But when you see somebody going through this thing, you can educate somebody. Well, somebody might come and say, you know what, Gary, the way you are communicating right now is the wrong aspect. Take this lens and look at it from this perspective. I know me and Word has had that conversation plenty of times, right? It's not because he thinks he's trying to give me a different lens to see how to better communicate my point, how best to say, you know what, your point could be more valid if you reach to this level or this certain person or whatever the case may be. But you got to have the understanding of or the patience of learning, right? Education is just learning. That's all it really is. Whether it's on this app, whether it's in whatever app you use, but in real life as well, you have to have the patience to learn what's being given to you, right? While that teacher is supposed to be wise and they have the knowledge because they have the skills of teaching it, right? You have to have the patience of understanding and knowing or trying to understand what is being given to you. That's why a lot of times people have a problem meeting people where they are, because they feel like they have to go so low that they they may not be able to regain their stature and pull themselves out of the doldrums of those low vibrational people or those low-minded people, right? But if you have that understanding, if you have that strength, you know that, and if you know you can do it, some people are better at doing that than others because they have the patience, the time, and things like that to go through those things. You know what I mean? So, it's all about how you give yourself the information, how you receive the information given to you, how much you activate that information. That's where the activation of that information, it becomes knowledge because you have put it on display. Now you know, so now you can pass this on to somebody else. You know, Commander could be the greatest person of kindness because she's so kind and her patience is like, I know you're trying to say something slick to me, but my patience is I'm not going to feed back into you, and I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna overcome your nonsense by paying you no mind. That's something that she does very well. So she can talk about that because she has the experience to do so. It doesn't mean that she's better than anybody. It's just her experience got her through those situations of patience. So now she can give that to somebody, and that's what educating is really about. Educating. If I can help you, have that conversation. If you read your Bible, you can have Bible study with other people, so you can feed into one another because you're reading it and getting an understanding or having a conversation to educate yourself on what the words are saying. Just like in a science book, you do that. You go ahead. How many people build a volcano as a science project? You understand that if you add baking soda and vinegar, that eruption is going to happen. That's a knowing. That's how you taught you. You educated yourself to understand that. You may have read that in the book, but now you master it, right? Or if you touch something, if a metal touches something that gives something a spark, you have created an electric stage right there. You learned that because you have done it time and time and time again, right? If you know how to draw, you can draw yourself a house, and now you need a contractor to build what you have drawn. You have now made your house that you are planning for in the future. These are things that you learn on your own. You learn it because your gifts are activated. You know what I mean? Some people know how to cook. That's why you got people like Taze and things like that. They're gonna teach you how to cook, vegan or regular. Santina's gonna teach you, how she cooks, not vegan, fried chicken and Caribbean foods and stuff like that. Why? Because their experience or time of knowing how to do this, it makes them quote unquote a professor at what they do because they have enough time to say, you know what, I've learned how to do this. I learned how to cook vegan. I know how to cook this. Yeah, when you think about music, you go to BDB. He has a talent of listening to music. So now he can tell that beat might be good over there. That beat could be good over there. Let's have a competition. Let's do that. So that's what he do well. Well, you know what I mean? So the education to educate yourself, please stop thinking that you got to go to school for that. Because school could be right outside your door. School could be in your house, right? It could be what you learn in real time. It's not just about you going to school 6, 7, 8 hours a day and learning how to be a broadcaster or a chemist or things like that. You can learn something every day. You open your eyes every day. You open your ears, right? And a lot of the time you learning how to at your job because somebody told me the other day, and this was crazy. They said, I was at the friend of a family's, and the man said, the easiest thing for you, the easiest thing to be is broke. I laughed. I'm like, what the? I said, that's crazy. But then when you sit there and think about it, you don't have no effort. There's no effort in you being broke. All you're doing is if you get money, you spend it. If you don't know how to keep it, you waste it. If you don't know how to make it, you don't have it. You know what I mean? There's plenty of ways, and then there's mental attributes to where it'll keep you broke. You don't want to go get this job. My pride gets in the way. I don't want to work at McDonald's, but I need a place to stay. I need money in my pocket, but I ain't gonna work at McDonald's. In the meantime, you go work at McDonald's at 35. You better just be looking for something else, unless you're trying to make a career at McDonald's. That's something different. But even with that, you have educated yourself to a lowest form of level because minimum wage ain't going to get you where you need to be all the time. It could be a start, but it shouldn't be a consistent thing, right? If consistency is a key in life, as my 33 brother says, then you have to understand that growth is going to be a part of your consistency. Elevation has to be a part of your consistency. And that's the beauty of having people like these people that I'm talking about in your circle, in your on this app, right? You can learn so many things. I was listening to him talk to writers and writer last night. They going through their experiences, and they're telling each other, how I overcame this, how did I get away from the streets, how did I do all of this, is because I had to inform myself, I had to educate myself that that's not the right place for me to be. So education is not just coming from a school building, but it's coming through the experiences that you have in everyday life. In order for me to become a great husband, I have to understand that I have to put other people first. If I get a wife, I have to put my wife first. I already have children, so I have to put them. I have to worry about their well-being. The selfishness has to go out the door when you are educating yourself, because when you educate yourself, it's not just for you, but you have to give that knowledge that you're gaining to somebody else. And 9 times out of 10, when you're building a family, it has to start at home first, right? If I'm telling you I love everybody and I don't love my kids, and if I have a wife and I don't love my wife, then how the hell do I love people and I don't love the people that I'm consistently around every day? It doesn't make sense, right? But because you understand that you educated yourself of what love is supposed to be, what compassion is supposed to be, what caring is supposed to be, you'll get up here and have these conversations. Whether there's 100 people in your chat, no people in your chat, but the information is available. Not only am I'm educating myself by doing this, but I'm leaving something on the table. If somebody picks up, takes the time and goes to the replay and listens and hears what's being said, right? So I'm doing what I feel is right. So, I don't have, morally, I feel content because I did what I'm supposed to do. Morally, I feel like I'm helping somebody because this is my thought process. This is how I educated myself about this particular subject. So this is what I will leave at the table. If somebody agrees with it, I may get a like. I may get a couple of views because they may watch it and say, you know what, he made some good points, right? And that's all I'm here to do is to give you another avenue or another lens of understanding how to educate or how to gain information, right? It's not just, like I said, it's not just in that school building. You know what I mean? If that's the case, YouTube might as well be a school. We might as well have the University of YouTube and just have a conversation on here all day, all night long, right? Because we see people take this as a gospel. People take YouTube as a gospel, right? So if you're going to take YouTube as a gospel, then why not put what you feel is a form of educating yourself and put it on there so somebody can hear it, and if they like it, if they apply it to themselves, if they use it, then it's a blessing. If not, then what it is. We understand learning it takes a great amount of willpower to learn something new, right? You have to remove yourself, get out of the way, because if you think you know it all, you're not going to follow anybody. If you think you've grown, you feel like I don't need to listen to this person because I got all the answers that I need. But that's why they say to educate is more for a child, because a child is going to be able to consume the information. It's going to take up the information as a sponge. Will they apply it? Who knows? But they have the information. That's why you are learning from infancy all the way on. You're supposed to keep learning till your last breath. But people feel like 18, I'm straight. You can't tell me nothing. I got a job. I'm smelling myself, so on and so forth. But that's not what just educating is. Hey, my favorite logical thinkers in the building, right? How are you? Right? But that's the thing. You don't just learn from a book. You learn from everyday situations, right? Now, logical thinker, she just came on, right? She came in the chat. She's going through a situation of how to have compassion and love for a person that's near and dear, right? Because she has that heart and compassion that's not taught. If you don't get that's not taught to you, but it just comes in. It comes to you. It's activated in you. There's no book that says, you know what, uh, you need to you need to sit there and just be nice because that's the right thing to do. No, that's an emotional logic. That's an emotional thing. That's a thing that's embedded in you, right? That's not coming out of a book. It's not you can't teach compassion. If you could teach compassion, everybody should have had it by now. You see, you know what I'm saying? So, but that's not how this goes. You build it up from the information given to you. Educate yourself. Well, all right, what moral compass do I have? Would I have this person just sit out here and look crazy and be by themselves? No. So she decides to go ahead and help love thy neighbor. You know what I mean? She loves thy neighbor enough to where I'm gonna go take care of him until I can reach out to somebody and get some assistance. And now she's doing other things because ain't nobody coming through for the person. She educated herself on how to have that compassion. And sometimes it'll frustrate you because the more you go through life lessons, the more it can irritate you, the more it can pull you away from certain things. But the fact of the matter is, she's learning this in real time, not through a book. Oh, well, I can stop. Let me not turn that page. No, you turn the page in life and see what happens. Something more crazier could come into your life. Something dangerous can be added to your life. Something could be taken away from your life too. But at the same time, it's a real experience. It's an everyday experience that she cannot learn from a book. So she's not going to learn none of that from a book. You learn that in real time. Just like if she was in the military, they teach you how to do things. Hey, stay in line, stay in order. Man, real life tell you, man, you come out of that line because they them bullets don't follow instructions. It just shoots and goes. It goes wherever it's just looking for something to hit. Right? That's not in a book. You learn that on the fly, and that's the thing that we have to understand. As much as we want to believe that education is the end all be all, going to school, and no, that's just the beginning. That's just something. That's a corner of life. Lisa J, how you feeling? My numbers lady, my financial lady. What's going on with you? Right? When you go through those experiences, you got to go through the experience. There's another one. She just came in. She can tell you herself. She could have read a whole bunch of things about investing and all that, but until she did it, she gained the experience. Well, y'all told me not to invest in Microsoft. Now Microsoft is rich. Now I gained a couple of dollars because they improved themselves. Why? Because her intuition, her guidance, her eternal guidance system told her to invest in that, and now she may have earned some money from that. It's not just about a book. It's about what you do with the information. That's what educating is. It's about the information that you get and what you do with it. Now, she tells y'all, you know what? There's a new stock that's coming out and it's only worth $1, but it has the potential to grow. So your job is to sit back and see if she's right. And if she is right, you're going to invest. The only thing is she might be telling you to invest now while it's low, but you want to get involved with it when it's taken off, and now it might cost you a little bit more. That's the only difference. That's a thing that's grown in you internally because you take the time to study the information that she's giving you. Okay, do AAA. Okay. Well, AAA looks good. It's only 20 cents right now. Now that it's picking up, now it might be $2. Damn, I could have got that for 20 cents. I could have had 10. I could have had 100 shares of that already, right? But because you took the time to study it and you was a little late, but the fact is you got on board with it because the information given to you was correct. She gave it to you. She didn't read it out of a book. She said, "Listen, I'm taking. This is what I'm looking at. I see it. The numbers is moving in this direction, and that's where you go with it." But that's the thing we have to understand. Everybody is not here for your best interest. Everybody's not here for you to come up. There are people, as people will say in everyday life, the education, the schooling system is here to program you to be at your lower form of self. So it's up to you to educate yourself to become a higher, well developed person, right? You could take that information and enhance it. You could take that information and just leave it where it is. It's up to you. You have the mind and skills to do so, but you must educate yourself enough to say, if I do this right, it's going to happen. If I'm not going to do this right, it's a waste of my time. You got to educate yourself in order to do so. You know what I mean? And so because of people like this, because this is not a book thing, because somebody's willing to give their experience to you, you have the opportunity to educate yourself. It's up to you to take the time to go forward with it. It's up to you to say, you know what, I agree with this person, and if I apply it to myself, maybe it'll happen for me. If it doesn't work, that doesn't give me the right to hate that person. It doesn't give me the right to be mad and say they think they better than me. No, it's just information that people are willing to give you. Use it or don't use it. Leave it at the table or pick it up off the table. The decision is always going to be yours. But just remember, if you want to be stagnant with where you at, this is not a place for you to be. Educating yourself is not a thing for you at all because you like where you are. Like I said, if it's the easiest thing for a person to be is broke, you ain't thinking about coming up. You ain't thinking about, elevating yourself to get some bread. You know what I mean? If you want to be a broken person, this is not a place for you to be. Why? Because we are here to, I am here to see the best in you and want the best for you. But if you don't see yourself becoming the best version of yourself, of course you're not going to want to be here. This is going to be a bunch of gibberish and nonsense and so on and so forth. But if you really want to be that person to elevate yourself, you have to educate yourself in what you want to be. Right? I'm not saying that Lisa J is Warren Buffett as far as the investment stage, but guess what? She's thriving in her situation. She's no longer surviving because she educated herself. I don't no longer want to just survive. I want to thrive in what the things that I'm doing. And it's because that's what she want to do. That's what makes her Lisa J Stocks instead of Lisa the last name. You see what I'm saying? Logical, more perspective. If she only had that one one lens of observation, she wouldn't have different perspectives. That's why she is more perspective. You see what I'm saying? It's because people are willing to put themselves in diverse situations. This is why I said adversity makes you more diverse. As long as you go through a thing and when you overcome and defeat it, you will learn things. Even if you lose in a situation, you educated yourself how not to go for that same trick again. You won't be defeated by the same thing twice. In chess, you learn how to, hey, I'm not going to fall for that fool's king, that fool's check. I'm a counter it, and now I'm gonna put you in check. You learn that by going through the experiences. This is what life is about. Life is about going through the experiences. Life is about you educating yourself to become that person that can persevere, that can overcome, that can become a better version of yourself. But as long as you want to be in nonsense, and as long as you want to be in foolishness, you're not gonna want to learn none of this stuff. So you can't be mad if somebody is thriving because you just want to maintain and be consistent with just surviving. There's no need for you to be upset about that. You know what I mean? It's all in the hands of the person that's making the sculptures. You paint your own picture. You paint your future. And if you just see yourself, you know what? I'd rather just rent than own it. That's your decision. Right. But if you want to earn, if you want to own, you got to learn how to maintain balanced money, spread it out to where you can put down a deposit for your home and then make sure your mortgage is paid. And if you're getting how could I make somebody help me pay my mortgage? Things like that. All of that's through educating yourself, the experience of learning. Right? It doesn't come from that big old school building that you got to go from 8 to 3 or whatever the time schedule that you used to go to school. Right? In school, they had an aim, right? What's the aim for this class? The aim of life is to get through it. The do now is to live your life. Right? You do it now so you can reach your aim. Right? In order for me to be 1,000 there. I gotta invest. I gotta invest my money. Do now. Invest this over here. And when it may not happen today, but give it some time, I could be 1,000 there. I might be a 10,000 there, or 100,000 there, or a millionaire, or a billionaire. But I have to go through the process. I have to do it now, so that way I could reach my aim or the goal. That's the objective of what I am striving for in the first place. And a lot of people don't have the patience or they don't educate themselves to have the patience or the wherewithal to go through those situations. And that's why a lot of us are failing, and that's why a lot of us is doing nonsense and foolishness, and that's why we are in the states that we're in. That's why a lot of us that are thriving, we're a minority, because we are doing the thing. We don't have time for the foolishness. We're going to educate ourselves by staying away from the foolishness and going towards the goal, meeting the mark that's in front of us. So until we go ahead and do that, until we sit back and just understand what's going on for us and how to better ourselves and educate ourselves, you will be reared and left behind by the system that doesn't want you to flourish in the first place. So, with that being said, y'all, I appreciate everybody coming through. Lisa J is always I believe Lisa J. Lisa, I don't know if you're going live today, but if she is, it's going to be around 3:00. So check her out. She may have she's going to have some information for you to go forward. My logical thinker, she may be going live soon. Just you be ready to check her out. Commander, as always, it's always good to see you. Those in the bushes, I hope this made sense to a lot of people. I hope this makes sense and you apply it, and you don't have to confirm what I'm saying, but if it's right, apply it to your life. It's not about me being better than anybody. It's about me putting this out there for somebody to become a better person. As the 9 will say, a better you is a better us. So with that, if we have that perspective, then we're going to go forward and do the things that we need to do. You know what I mean? In order for us to be the better version of ourselves, we must educate ourselves on a personal basis, and then we can help somebody else. That's why better you or better us is a great term that I'm always going to quote. You know what I mean? Because it just makes sense. If I become better, if you take this information, like as humble as Lisa is, she understands what she's putting out there. She's helping a few people, and she's not getting egotistical about it. She's like, okay, well, if this is right, well, how much more can I give and make myself look like I know what I'm saying, and then it's helping somebody else because we're all going to flourish with the information. I'm not better than them. I'm just giving them the information. I just use the information that I got, and now there's people picking up what I'm putting down, and they're becoming financially understandable. They financially understand what I'm saying, and it's working for them, and so on and so forth. And these are the things that we need to go forward. Stop being afraid to just listen to people that are not, Warren Buffett's or Oprah Winfrey or people like that. Listen to the people that's with you in your field, in your stages, right? Lisa J, like I said, she's not them, but she's here with us, giving us the tools and information. Use it, and if it works for you, it's right. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna keep supporting people like this because they are giving us the tools and opportunity. They are educating us to become financially understandable or technically sound, if you know what I mean, or like I said, artistry with 755. Like these people are giving you the tools to become that person in that atmosphere, in that field that they're talking about. Me, I'm just giving you information. So whatever the information is, if it applies, it applies. If it doesn't, let it fly. You know what I mean? So, shout out to everybody that came. Like I said, shout out to everybody that came through. Shout out to everybody that's going to catch a replay. I'll be back soon. In the meantime, until next time, I'll see y'all later. I appreciate y'all.